Hello Chief, welcome to my tier list, Archon tier list. Let's jump straight into it. Okay, Act 1. When I first went into Mondstadt, it was so freaking magical. It was so much fun. You know, going into a new world, you can jump, you can swim, you can just move around. The feel of an open world game. Mondstadt, first act, good. Okay, the biggest problem is, once you reach to the end, they just block you. Like, the worst thing about Mondstadt is there are two level blocks that really like hinder the experience. So I really didn't like it. You know, the level blocks. But Act 1, it's like, it's okay, you know, it's an okay introduction act. It was fun introduction act. I liked it. Act 2, absolute cinema, man! Act 2 was amazing! Dude, if only, at least they, you know, man, if you start Genshin and you end on the second act, that's a great stopping point. But it would be even better if they, you know, if they just remove all the level blocks, at least in Mondstadt. Like, I understand why they had it in the beginning, because they were, you know, the game was new. There wasn't a lot of content, but the game is like 5 years old now, so there's so much content. I feel like they should just remove it. You know, like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people, like new Genshin players, would just stop playing Genshin, because they would just, you know, the first act would so annoy them, right? Because them blocking you before you reach any kind of like greatness or interesting part, it really ruins it. But yeah, Act 2 was amazing, you know, finding out at the end about Lumine, that she's still alive, and she is the princess. Okay, I'm not sure if they revealed that she's the princess in the actual game, or if that was in the trailer we watched. But they revealed that she's alive, and she's leading the Abyss. Goddamn. Act 3. Act 3 was great. Act 3 was great. I didn't love it as much as Act 2. Act 3 was amazing. You get to explore the old Mondstadt, which was magical. Okay, exploring the new place in Mondstadt, the destroyed ruins of a castle, and there's this huge animal barrier that if you touch it will send you off, and you have to like climb up. Dude, that was so much fun, but it felt so short. It felt so freaking short because of the level block, right? Because they block you. So you experience a long, like amazing long act, and it was so short, right? Like, after I finished Act 3, I realized, wait, the entire Mondstadt is a prologue. It's a tutorial. And without the level blocks, it'd be such an amazing freaking tutorial. With the level blocks, or adventure level, you know, like stopping points, it feels horrible. It feels horrible to play through. Because, you know, because they just stop you. They just stop you, so, you know, you build expectations for the next part. The next part is so short. Like, if you can enjoy it in one, you know, in one gameplay session or two, it's such a much better feeling. So yeah, that's my Mondstadt experience. Liyue Act 1, the first new region after Mondstadt. Act 1 was good. I had a lot of fun playing Act 1. You get to explore, you know, Liyue, the mountain range. It's so much fun, just traveling, climbing, you know, you're so amazed because you're like, holy shit, dude. That massive mountains that you have to conquer, like gigantic mountains. I know most people, they went through Mount Everest, sorry, Dragon Spine, not me, okay, I didn't go through Dragon Spine, I just went to Liyue straight away, I didn't touch Dragon Spine, so for me, Liyue was the first time I experienced like huge, gigantic mountains. There was one in Mondstadt at the end of Act 2, which was magical because you get to see the whole Mondstadt, and it's one of the prettiest scenes in the game. Like, for me, top 5 prettiest scenes in Mondstadt Act 2 at the end, you know, when you climb up to meet Dvalin. So yeah, Act 2. I mean, if you watch my streams, you know how I feel about Act 2. I hate it. It was so boring. It felt really pointless. Even though it wasn't, right? Because they introduced you Zhongli. But, you know, when I went into Genshin the first time, everyone kept telling me how every dialogue matters. Everything is super important. Like, you can't miss a single thing because everything will play a huge role. Okay, now that I have finished, you know, Sumeru, Fontaine Act 1, Liyue, Inazuma, Mondstadt, I can tell you, no, everything doesn't matter, okay? Some stuff are irrelevant, okay? They don't matter, you know? They're like just fun stuff, just, you know, just the characters talking with each other, talking with us, you know, just having some fun dialogue or boring dialogue. But, you know, it's not a big deal. And let me tell you, when I went to Genshin, you know, and especially Act 2, and everyone kept glazing everything about Genshin, my expectations were super high. And Liyue Act 2 didn't deliver. It was really, really boring. It's not my most hated act. I just found the act boring. I mean, there were some redeeming parts. You know, like Gujong Ballista and meeting Chichi. But otherwise, because, you know, I expected so much more from the glaze, it didn't deliver at all. You know, I felt like an errand boy, you know, just running around for Zhongli, him talking about, I don't know, was it perfumes or flowers, both maybe. Let me tell you, I forgot the dialogue of Zhongli in Act 2, in Liyue Act 2. I forgot all the dialogue in Liyue Act 2. And till this day, it didn't feel like it was important. You know, it didn't like, oh, shocking plot twist. It was key to understanding an act in Sumeru or something. No, no. Liyue Act 2. Okay, we met Zhongli. We got to find out what kind of guy he is, okay? You know, I like him more in his story acts. In his story acts, I like him way more than in the actual Archon quests. Liyue Act 3, I mean, cinema! Okay, I'm so glad I persisted for Act 2. Because Act 3 was amazing. Act 3 was absolute cinema. It was so much fun. That was so shocking. Because after Act 2, I was dead inside. I was like, you know, Liyue Act didn't deliver. But then I experienced Act 3, and my view completely changed. Okay, you get to meet Child, well, you met Child, like, since the beginning. But you get to see Child, like, as a Fatui Harbinger, going ham. You get to defend Liyue against the Fatui, and not just Fatui, against an actual god. Liyue Act 3 re-showed you, holy shit, this is the Genshin impact that everyone is glazing. This is the Genshin impact that everyone was talking about how amazing the fun the game was. And I agree. Liyue Act 3 delivered on all fronts. I loved every second of it. I couldn't get enough of it. Prologue. So this is the Dane's quest. There were 2 quests, Dane's quest. I mean, let me tell you something. If Dane is in the story involved, it's 10 out of 10, okay? Absolute cinema, love it. The prologue was very short, I believe. It was like when we first met Dane, and even though it was really short, and it was more like introducing him to us, it was so intriguing. I liked it, even though we were just talking, you know, and then you start to realize, wow, there's, you know, like, people kept gazing the dialogue and everything about Genshin, but no, there's a clear distinct. There's a clear difference. Like, if you want to see the difference in, like, really, like, fun, important, interesting, you know, cool lore stuff, or something very intriguing, just take a look. There's such a massive difference between Liyue Act 2 and Dane's Leaf Prologue, okay? Dane's Leaf Prologue, even though it was short, it was so much fun to go through it. Then the next Dane quest, 10 out of 10. Okay, 10 out of 10. Holy shit. Finding about Lumine, Aether, finally meeting Lumine for the first time. You know, after all this time. Dude, I love Dane's quest, okay? I love Dane's quest, and the prologue and the first, you know, after the prologue, the second part, 10 out of 10. Okay, Dane, Lumine, Abyss Order. I know there's a difference between Abyss and Abyss Order, but I keep, you know, I mean, I use them both like as the same thing, so I'm sorry for that. Abyss Order. Dude, it's so good, and it was so shocking, because like, Lumine is there, and she just leaves you. She just leaves you. So yeah, prologue. Prologue for Inazuma. Honestly, I find it great. I love, or good? No, I would say great. I would say great. It was so much fun, you know, because they really tease you. Oh, you are about to embark on a new journey across the entire sea. Okay, across the entire ocean. You know, and they just, you get to meet Beidou. You get to meet everyone on the islands, you know. And surprisingly, even though like not like massive things happen, I don't know, it was just great the way they were teasing you about Inazuma. Great prologue, I like it a lot. Act 1, you know, even though I personally really enjoyed it on the stream, like looking back at it, it was pretty meh, you know, like you were stuck on Rito. Even though I kinda enjoyed it because I had so many theories about why you were stuck in Rito. And the way they were, you know, like they were teasing you Raiden as the big enemy of the region and everything. God, you know, I personally had a lot of fun in Rito, but like looking back at it, it was like pretty meh. But you know, Rito wasn't even the worst part. I mean, second Rito, the worst part is once you complete Act 1, you can't even start Act 2 straight away because they will block you. Okay, they will block you again, but this time it's not even adventure rank. You know, that's why. You know what? Let's keep it at meh because you had to do 2 story quests with Ayaya and the Firework Girl, okay? And let me tell you something. Even though it was mandatory to play, it had no connection to the actual Archon quest. And that was the most disappointing fact, right? Because you're like, okay, they are making you play through it, right? It must be insanely important. Like, why is Ayaya wanting, you know, to go shopping with us, buy clothes? But, are we going to infiltrate the Raiden base? No, No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. You know, it was just a fun story quest. It had no connection to the Archon quest. And that was just disappointing. Because they made it mandatory. So, you know, they're basically telling you, yo, you have to play through this. It's important. It wasn't. It really wasn't. And I don't know why they just don't remove this, you know, prerequisite. Like I said, you know, I can understand at the beginning, but the game is 5 years old now, you know? Just make the new play experience better. And it's not even that hard, right, in the code. Unless, actually, I don't know how they program it, right? But it's probably something like true and false, you know, Boolean, right? So you just trigger some stuff on and off. But like I said, it really depends on how you program it. So maybe they really, they bricked their code and, yeah, but I don't know. I don't work there. I can't see into their code. So I can't criticize it. But I feel like, you know, I feel like they could find a way around it. But yeah. Act 2. Absolute cinema. You meet Raiden for the first time. Like, holy shit, finally! Finally! And she tries to kill you! And my boy, Toma, saving the day. Dude, I love Liyue Archon quests, man. They were so much fun. And Act 3, absolute cinema. Okay? Absolute cinema. Oh god, it was so much fun. And you meet Teppei, my favorite NPC in the game. You know, yeah, my favorite NPC in the game. It's not even close. You have Teppei. Well, okay. You have Teppei, you have Aranya, you have there are actually a lot of great NPCs in the quest. But Teppei, even though he was like very short-lived, it was so much fun. Like, he gave so much flavor to the story. It was amazing to see someone glaze Ether so much. Or Lumine if you play Lumine. Liyue Archon Quest 2 and 3. So much fun, man. You know, it really surprised me. That's why, like, Inazuma is for me like top 2 Archon quests, Archon regions. It was so much fun. It was amazing. I had such a blast with it. 10 out of 10. This one is probably, if I think about it, it's either the Chasm or the one in Liyue with Shenhe. Okay, I'm not sure right now. I think this is, yeah. You know what? That one was... Chasm was so much fun. Exploring Chasm and playing through Chasm. Especially the second part. And Shenhe, meeting Shenhe and fighting the god. Well, not the god. Fighting Osia's wife. And Osia is a god, right? We don't know if his wife is a god. Maybe not. It's hard to say. I don't think... she's probably a goddess. Well, either way, you know, we're fighting a goddess. Well, a beast, his wife, and Shenhe was amazing. I love the boss fight. You know, it was short. I really like it. I like it a lot. You know, let's just keep it in the S tier. It was great. Sumeru, Act 1, meh. I didn't like it. Well, it was just boring. You know, not much happened. The way they introduced it, you know, the worst thing was VR AirPods. When I found out about VR AirPods, that really took me off, you know, It felt like it really didn't belong to Sumeru. It felt really off. Because, like, normally when I, you know, imagine a nature, wisdom kind of region, you know, I'm expecting elves, right? Like lots of, like, I'm really into fantasy, so I expect elves, I expect dwarves, you know. Well, I didn't expect VR AirPods, that's for sure. So even though it was like, it's not like the end of the world, it's such a huge, like, shocking moment, you know. It really takes you off from it takes you away from the immersion, so that's a bit of a shame. But otherwise, like, the act, it was boring, you know, like, not much happened. And they introduced to Collei, but Collei didn't really play a huge role later on in the story. Which is such a shame, because I like the way they introduced you Collei. That was such a highlight for me in Act 1, because if you read the manga, you already knew Collei. Okay, that was so hyped going to meet Collei again. So I felt like it was like they were building up Collei to be such an amazing key character in Sumeru. But Collei was so... It was so disappointing, the way Collei was used in the story in Sumeru. So yeah, Act 1, it's just meh, you know, it's meh. It's not the worst thing in Sumeru, but it was meh. Act 2, Absolute Cinema, okay? Act 2 was amazing. It was so intriguing. And I tried to figure out what was going on. I just couldn't figure it out. It was amazing. 10 out of 10, okay? I loved it so much. Great, amazing, best, Absolute Cinema. Call it whatever you want. Act 3 was good. You know, I don't really have any like complaints or anything. It was okay. Like, it didn't really like amaze me in any like super way. It was just there. It was good. Like, I had a good time. It was good. It was good. Act 4. I mean, if you watch my streams, you probably not surprised. I hate Act 4. God, I hate it so much. I don't think the idea was bad. I think the execution was terrific. As in very, like, in a negative terrific way. Because you can say terrific in a good way, but it was horrible. It was so bad. It made me really dislike most of the characters in Sumeru. Like, basically, most of the playable characters in Sumeru made me really dislike them. I hated the execution. It was so disappointing. I love the ending of Act 4 because you find out about Rukadevata, and the idea itself, you know, I don't think it was necessarily bad. I really think the execution, the storytelling of Act 4 was so bad. Like, I wanted to quit Genshin after Act 4 because I was so disappointed. It was not a fun time at all. Act 5, I love it so much. It was great. It was amazing. Okay, fighting against the pseudo-god. Okay, finding out about Nahida. Finding out about Rudekavata. Amazing. Freaking amazing. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Best of the best. God, it was so freaking good. This is probably Carbird, right? This is probably Carbird. Okay, Carbird. God. Was it? It was great, but did I love it? I can't tell. I love it a lot, but was it like 10 out of 10? You know, we had Dane. We found out about Carbard, about the beginning of the Abyss Order, about Lumine, about Dane not knowing. I like it a lot. It was great. You know what? I love it. It's great or love it. You know what? I'm just gonna put it here. It was great. It was great. It was very fun. It was great. But I didn't feel like it was 10 out of 10. Even it's hard as ever. You know, okay, the great tier is empty. Let's put it there. Then also, I want to put in, because one of the best acts that I loved in the game, like for me, it's like top 2. You know, for some people, Sumeru Act 5 is the best. For me, there's one act that I enjoyed way even more than Act 5. It was Act 6. I think it's called Interlude. And I don't really see it in the pinned images down here. Wait, let me just see if you guys can see the images, yeah. So let's just act. I'm not sure, this is probably after Fontaine. But for now, think of this as Act 6, right? Act 6 or, you know, Skaranya quest, right? Skaranya story quest. Act 6 or Interlude of Sumeru. What do you want to call it? Whatever. Absolute cinema. Okay, for me, that's top 2 acts. Maybe even my favorite. But, you know, it's so recent. It's incredibly recent, so I can't quite say if it's truly the best for me or not. But Act 6, I had such a blast playing through it. Okay, finding about Skaranya, or Skardush Baladir, finding about him, having Nahida, the interactions between Baladir, Nahida, you get to name him. Dude, Act 6 was amazing, and at the end, they tease you Nicole. Act 6 was so much fun. You know, it wasn't as flashy as Act 5, right? You didn't have such a insane boss fight, like fighting a gigantic robot. But Act 6, it just resonated with me. You know? Like, these quests, like, they don't have to be, like, super fancy, like Inazuma Act 3, or Liyue Act 3. But as long as they're, like, really cool story pieces, like, for example, Prologue with Dane's Leaf, they're great. Or Sumeru Act 2. They are great. Not just great, they're absolute cinema. So yeah, and also Fontaine. Okay, so we saw in Fontaine, and today we're going into Fontaine 2. Fontaine 1, this will be shocking a lot of people, but when I was streaming it, I didn't really enjoy it, right? Because when I was streaming it, because I'm also hyped for Natlan, and I feel like people just use Fontaine as a way to shit on Natlan, so it felt really depressing. Honestly, playing Fontaine Act 1 felt so depressing. I feel like most of the time we were like more like arguing and talking about Natlan, other regions, and a bit of Fontaine. And yeah, people just use whenever they hear Natlan, because I'm super hyped for Natlan. Like, I am so hyped for Natlan. I'm interested in Natlan. I want to experience Natlan. My heart is beating so fast for my weekend Natlan that I just I just want to talk about my hype about it. But whenever I mention it, people just start hating Natlan so much. Like they they shit on it, they slander it, they talk the worst thing about Natlan, and it made me super critical about Fontaine. So like when we started the Fontaine act, after the Natlan discussion, instead of enjoying Fontaine for what it is, I had such a not pessimistic view, judgmental view. I started to be very judgy. Instead of enjoying Fontaine for what it is, oh, a new region, let's explore something cool and new. I was like, okay, so this is the supposedly greatest region, greatest world quest, Archon quest, greatest thing that Genshin ever had, like this is the best thing in the whole world, like nothing can top this, best thing in the whole entire world, Fontaine, and instead of enjoying the game, I was like, okay, so this is the Fontaine that Natlan could never, even come close to. Like, Natlan is the worst thing ever, this is the best thing ever, sure, buddy, sure. Okay, so I started having this very judgmental look, and instead of enjoying fun, I was like, okay, so what are they going to do next? Okay, like, I was so out of it mentally, and when I was streaming it, it was meh, it was really meh. But like, looking at it more from a calm perspective, from a more objective view, seeing, okay, let me compare it to others, let me see what they did. I actually think it was really great. The way they introduced to us the characters, I hope they will play a huge role, unlike Kole. I really like, for now, I love the characters they got introduced to us. I really like Furina. And you get to see how she truly feels, right? It's like, it's so manga or anime. I love it. I did not expect to really like the Monsieur from Fontaine, the water guy, the water beast. He shoots water. God, what was his name? Newville. I like him a lot. I was so surprised. He's such a cute, chill person, he just sit next to you. It was so awkward, you exchange dialogue. And it is the best introduction act in all the regions I've been to so far. In my opinion. Like, Fontaine Act 1, like, looking at it from a really calm perspective and trying to be, not to mix in, my emotions and what I've been feeling and how people hate on Natlan. More like an objective way, more of a calm way, like truly, judge Fontaine Act 1 for what it truly is. It's a great act. It's really a great act, It was a great act, but not in my stream, okay? In my stream, it was so meh. And I can't put it in meh because it's not meh, it's not meh. After like thinking about it, it's not. But I can't put it in great either, because I did not have fun personally. So I'm just gonna leave it in good. I feel really bad because it's just my experience, it's my experience. So yeah, I'm gonna try and go into the rest of Fontaine with more of a clear mind, I try to mention less Natlan, but and just focus on Fontaine for what it truly is. And hopefully it will be fun, hopefully it'll be great, hopefully it will deliver. I just don't want to, play through the region, with such a judgmental look, with such a negative way, because it'd be a shame if it's a great fun story quest, fun time to play. Because look, we play video games to escape our real life problems, right? So I would love to have a good time rather than hate the time, right? I would rather have fun time, see the good things and just experience Fontaine for what it is. If I don't like it at the end, then I don't like it. If I like it, I like it. But I want to like it or hate it based on what actually happens in the story, rather than because the community is super toxic whenever, Natlan gets mentioned, right? Or something like that. So yeah, that's my experience. And the rest, that's obvious, because we just finished Act 1. So Act 2 haven't played, Act 3 haven't played, Act 4 haven't played, Act 5 haven't played, Natlan haven't played, Act 2, 3, 4. And that's my tier list. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? You know, I want to know your choices, you know. Was there ever an act you laughed? I mean, probably, yeah, if you played Genshin. Was there an act you really hated it? You know, leave it down in the comments. Please tell me. I'm really interested to see different points of view. But this is how I experience Genshin, right? This is for me, the Genshin Archon quests. And yeah, see you in Fontaine X soon. And, you know, let's just have fun. Let's just have fun. Autumn out.